weak-kneed nation. And they rejected his statutes and his covenant that he had made with their fathers, and his testimonies which he had testified against them. They followed idols, became idolaters, and the Lord rejected all the descendants of Israel, afflicted them, and delivered them into the hand of plunderers, until he had cast them from his sight. 2 Kings chapter 17, verse 15, and verse 20. A weak-kneed nation. A strong growing economy is no reliable indicator of God's favor. Neither is military might, generous life expectancy, nor technological advancement. The only sure way to determine a nation's greatness in God's eyes is to observe what the people worship, to see when they bow to their knees. My criticism doesn't mean that I hate this country. My criticism of the United States is valid. Yes, we are a great country. Yes, there's no other country I'd rather be on this planet. And as I've stated before, I've been around the world when I was in the military, in the Navy. Been around the world. I've been to the continent of Africa, in Djibouti. I've been to Spain. I've been to Saudi Arabia. I have to Oman. I've been to the Bahamian Islands. I've been to Puerto Rico. I've been to Cuba. I have been to so many places, but the United States of America is the only place I'd want to be. The only place. And I call it the greatest country on earth. But it has its flaws. It has its flaws. And just like from the text that I read, the nation of Israel, or Israel itself, it had its flaws. We are a weak-kneed nation because we have failed to live up to the creed, in God we trust. In God we trust. We once had it in our school systems up until 1962, when it was taken away, and it was done by one woman. One woman led this crusade. One woman. And how was one woman able to coerce a whole nation into changing their ideals, their front-running ideals towards our school system? But it happened. We are weak-kneed because we took out God. Even though we have God on our money, in God we trust. But do we really? Have we really trusted God as a nation? Little by little we have stripped away the precepts and principles of what we believe in God about. We have stripped it away little by little. And we have propped up our flag as our God instead. That's right, we have. We have propped up our flag as our God. We have gotten to the point where if we criticize this nation, it's taken as, how dare you? How dare you criticize this nation when it's done, when all it's done for you? Yes, that's true. That's true. That is so true. But we're looking to the flag as if it's our God, and it's not. It's a symbol of this nation, but it's not God. We are weak-kneed. We are weak-kneed because, as a nation, we have turned a blind eye to injustice. We've turned a blind eye. We always have. We always have. Injustice towards black people, injustice towards basically every other minority, okay, but especially black people. We've turned a blind eye. And there are those who will say, well, things have changed, we've made strides, we've made turnarounds, but there's more work to be done. Much more work to be done. And when people of color, such as myself, when we want to bring it to the forefront, there's tremendous pushback. How dare you? How dare you say this? How dare you bring this up when your country's been so good to you? How dare you? But I dare. I must, and I will. We are weak-kneed. Like I said, this nation has not lived up to its full potential, to its creed of one nation under God, of men being equal. We've not lived up to that. We've not lived up to it. So now there is the movement towards injustice towards black people, towards injustice towards people of color. It's time to live up to the nation's creed of all men are created equal. We are weak-kneed because of systemic racism. We are weak-kneed because the Constitution was written solely and purely for the white man. And it even excluded white women until certain points where they made changes. But initially it was just white men only. White men only. We are weak-kneed. And up until now, today, systemic racism still exists within the Constitution, within each state's laws and constitutions. That has to change. If we want to truly be a nation of equal opportunity, work hard and grind it out. But while working hard and grinding it out, steps have been taken away from people of color. Whereas steps have been taken away, you truly can't make it to the top until those steps that were taken away need to be put back in place. And laws be rewritten for people of color. We are weak-kneed. Truly, we are weak-kneed. We are weak-kneed because we insisted on a king. You say, who's that king? None other than the president as of right now, President Trump. He even carries himself as if he's a king or a dictator. Let me make a comparison here, or a parallel. Let's go to 1 Samuel chapter 8, verses 6 through 9. 1 Samuel chapter 8, verses 6 through 9. Pull out my handy iPhone. First Samuel chapter 8, verses 6 through 9. It says, "But their demand displeased Samuel, when they said, 'Give us a king to judge and rule over us.' So Samuel prayed to the Lord. And the Lord said to Samuel, 'Listen to the voice of the people in regard to all that they say to you, for they have not rejected you, but they have rejected me from being king over them.'" It's talking about God. God's referring to himself. The people rejected him and said, "We want a king." Like all the deeds which they have done since the day that I brought them up from Egypt, even to this day, and that they have abandoned and rejected me and served other gods. So they are doing to you also. So now listen to their voice. Only solemnly warn them and tell them the ways of the king who will reign over them. And also let's go to verses 19 and 22. 19 through 22. And it says, "Nevertheless, the people refused to listen to the voice of Samuel. And they said, 'No, but there shall be a king over us, so that we too may be like all the nations around us, that our king may judge and govern us, and go out before us and fight our battles.' Samuel had heard all the words of the people and repeated them to the Lord. And the Lord said to Samuel, 'Listen to their request and appoint a king for them.' So Samuel said to the men of Israel, 'Go each man to his own city.'" Now, after Obama, the people in this nation, so to speak, said, "We need a change. We don't like what was going on. We need something different." So, when they heard Trump, there was a difference. Surely there was a difference. And he spoke basically from the hip. He didn't sound, and still doesn't sound like your normal politician. He's been arrogant, he's been rude, vulgar, very blunt, and pretty much to the point. He has spoken what the people want to hear. But he's done it in a clumsy way also. But, and I've also pointed out that how can you have a leader who is not eloquent? And I know God can, there have been leaders that have been in place and they've done well, and they were not well educated. I get that. And basically, I could be on board with that. for a man who may not have the book sense that you look for in a president of the leading nation of the world. I can understand that. But to replace that, I need that man to have great common sense. And that's something I'm not seeing in Trump. Now, no, this is not a situation to bash. I'm just pointing out situations and facts. Just pointing them out. That this leads into the concept of weak-kneed nation. And that we pushed for a man who didn't fit all the requirements, didn't check off all the boxes of what a leader should be, and he was pushed to the forefront. But you know what? Since this is what the people wanted, since this is what this nation has geared itself towards, whereas we push homosexuality, we push injustice, we push children talking back to their parents, we push things that shouldn't be, things that are not of God, things that are not like God. We push so many of these issues to the forefront. And then we push God out of the way. We push God out of the mainstream. So then we say we want someone different. And this is what you get. God will give the people what they want. He always has and always will. We are weak-kneed because of our immorality, and I've spoken on that already. We are weak-kneed because of our immorality. Immorality runs rampant throughout this country. You see it in books, you see it in movies, you see it on TV, you see it in our schools, you see it on our jobs. We put up a good front. Oh yeah, we put up a good front. But immorality runs rampant. You know, I criticized this nation on that. I criticized myself also. And I had to clean up my act also. Clean up my act. Clean up myself. With the help of God. There have been times I've run off the tracks and had to get put back on. Just like this nation, it has to get put back on the tracks. Put back on the tracks to the glory of God. And we won't and will not be on the right path until we put God first, until we put God to the forefront. Then and only then will we not be a weak-kneed nation. And I know many of you do not want to hear that this country is pure, it's the essence of life, it can do no wrong, but I'm here to tell you, it can do wrong and it has done wrong. And we are reaping. And hear me when I say this, we are reaping what we've sown. This pandemic is just a small taste of what we're about to receive. Hear me. Hear me good on that. We need to change our ways. We need to get some of these things right. Or we will continue down a path we don't want to take. Enough said. God's verdict on Israel was striking. He rejected them and orchestrated their defeat because they became as worthless as the idols they worship. A nation that bows down to useless idols is useless in God's eyes. The Lord no longer has a covenant with any political nation. His covenant is not with the people, his church. Nevertheless, God has promised to punish wickedness wherever it may be found by worshiping other gods. Entire nations plunge themselves into perilous evil. The Bible's warning about idolatry, therefore, is not simply for the church, but for the nation as well. Idolatry is not just a person's bowing down to a stone figurine. Idolatry has more to do with where one's trust lies. Economic indicators, stock prices, and mutual funds may become just as idolatrous as totem poles if people value them above God. The people of Israel genuflected because statues, while modern humans bow down before things as fleeting as sensuality, fame, health, power, and money. The church must strive to divert the nation's gaze from idols of destruction to God. Only the one true God, as revealed in Scripture, is worthy of a people's worship. Call to any other God in the day of trial, and you'll only hear an echo. Fantline.com is where you need to be if you're about growth and evolving as a person. And Fantline.com is about truth. Oh no, not my truth, God's truth. And if you're not about God's truth, then this isn't the website for you. If you're into gossip, then this isn't the website for you. And if you're not into learning and growing as a person, then again, this isn't the website for you. So come on, have some knowledge dropped on you. Or are you scared of what you may find out? So go to Fantline.com, or if you're into a listening mode, go to my podcast at anchor.fm/Marvin-Fant for Fantline 100. Either way, you'll learn something, and every so often I'll give away cash prizes, but you'll have to check out Fantline.com. Enough said.